Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will walk you through some important concepts of C# programming. Here is the list. First one is what are conditional statements, how we can implement these, what are if statements, if else statements, else if ladder statements, what are these, how we can use these in our C# programming, what are nested if and what is the purpose of using dangling else or dangling if statements, what is this. We can see all these concepts with the examples. So let's revise again logical operators and ternary operators for conditional statements, because these are very used in our if else statements. So let's begin. First one is conditional statements. Conditional statements are programming constructs that allows you to code to make decisions and execute certain blocks of code based on specific conditions. Conditional statements are those which are applied on some conditions, specific conditions. If suppose we have if else condition, we provide if condition that will true, then it will execute that code of block into if statements. Otherwise it will execute else part. In simple terms, if something is true, do this, otherwise do that. These are kind of two probabilities we have into these conditional statements. So why use conditional statements in your program? To react to different inputs or situations, follow logical branches, control the flow of execution. These are like to how we can react to our possibilities which we provide into our if else statements. We can use logical operators into that, like and operators, or operators, not operators, into our if else statements. And we can set the flow. Suppose we have multiple conditions, we can set the execute flow with the sequence with the conditional statements. Here are some statements with the purpose. First one is if condition. If condition is like if we provide any condition into if block, then if it is true, then it will execute that if block code, otherwise it will move to another code. Second one, we have if else statement. If else is like suppose we have two conditions, two probabilities. So we can write a logic into our if condition, if block, or in else block. If condition is satisfied with the condition, then it will execute that code, otherwise it will move to else block. Third one, we have else if statements. Suppose we have more than two probabilities, or we have more than two possibilities or conditions we want to write in our if else statement. So we can use else if statements, where we can provide more conditions with more programs. Next one, we have nested if. Nested if means suppose we already implemented if else condition and we want to provide another if else statement inside the if condition. So we can do this with nested if else, means conditions inside conditions. Last one is ternary operators, which I think we covered into our last lecture. It is like a short version of if else statements. We can check this with example. First one, we have a simple if statement. A simple if statements, I already told you that if the if condition is satisfied, then it will execute that code or block, otherwise it will move further. Simple, it is like to execute a block of code only if a given condition is true. If condition is false, the code inside the block is skipped. Here we have the example of simple if statements. Suppose we have integer value, and if this condition is satisfied, like the number which are given is greater than or equal to 18, then it will execute this code of block. Let's see example on Visual Studio. We can use here simple if condition. Suppose we have here given value, or we can also provide input with console.read line. We have to do the typecasting, because by default console.readline gives string type, so we have to convert this. And here we implement our condition that this will greater than equal to 20. So dot write line if condition. Okay, so let's run this one. So here we have the age is we have to provide input. Suppose if we provide 20, then it will execute the if block. Suppose the given value is 20 and it is equal to 20, where we have applied the check like greater than equal to 20. If the value is greater than or equal to 20, then this code will execute. So we have the message code executed fine in if condition. So here we see this simple if condition. We saw the example of a simple if statement. Next move on. Here we have a if else statement. If else statement is suppose we have two possibilities. We want to execute two blocks with the if else statements. Then we can apply two conditions. Suppose if condition block is satisfied the condition, then it will execute this block. Otherwise, it will move to else block. This is the main purpose of if else statements. We have two possibilities with true or false. True one you can suppose with we can apply into if block, otherwise it will move to else block. And its purpose is mainly to react on different conditions depending on different inputs, values and situations. It is a kind of totally requirements what kind of inputs we provide into this and what kind of values we get, and what kind of situations or conditions we have to provide into this if block and else block. Let's see the example into Visual Studio. Here we can comment this code. Let's see if else statement. Suppose we can write line user exists, then we can get the bool value for user. We have to first typecast it into bool, and with the console.read line we can get the input. We can provide the input, then we can apply the condition of if value is equal to true, then it will provide us user is active. Else if a user is not exist, then it will provide us the output that user is inactive. Let's see the output of this. Suppose we can provide true with this, then we have the answer like user is active. So here if block is satisfies the condition, we provide true, then it convert the value into boolean, and then it will check the value that is true or not. So here it execute the if block code. So here we get user is active. Suppose if we provide false, then what will be the output? So it skipped the if condition because here we have true value and here we are providing false. So it skipped the if block and moved to else block. So it will print this one, user is inactive. So we learn about if else statement. So here we saw the example of this one also. Next we have else if ladder statement. Else if ladder statement, suppose we have more than two conditions and we have to apply all these. So we can use these else if ladder statements where we can write more condition with if else statements, like else if block with or multiple else if block we can provide. An else if ladder allows you to check multiple conditions in a proper sequence. As soon as one condition is true, its corresponding block is executed and the rest are skipped. Use cases: when you have more than two possibilities, like assigning grades based on marks, then you can use these else if ladder statements. Here we have example, like we have if and else conditions and we applied else if blocks also because we have more than two possibilities, so that's why we use these blocks. Let's see this one example. We can comment this. Else if statement. Suppose we to provide student marks. In integer, first we will convert it read line. Okay, then we can provide multiple condition on this. Suppose marks is greater than 90, then we can apply different code block. Grade A, and now we can use else if statement, ladder statement with this. Greater than 70, for this we can write different message. Else if suppose marks greater than 50, for this we have different message. Last we have the else block, that is by default. If all three conditions will not work, or all conditions will give us false value, or it is not satisfying the condition, then the default block will execute, that is else block. Then it will display this message. Let's see what will be the output of this one. Suppose we are providing 80, then we are getting grade B. Here we have the given value, that is 80, and 80 is greater than 70 but less than 90. So here else if condition is satisfying the condition, then it will execute this code, this line of code. So we have grade B here. Suppose here if we provide 40, then it will execute this code of block, means default value or a default else block. So here we have the result fail for this one because it is not satisfying the condition. These all false the condition, and then the default block will execute in this time. So this is the else block. Here we see all the else if ladder statements with multiple possibilities, and we can use multiple conditions with else if statement. So we saw this example also with else if. Next one is a nested if statement. As I already told you that a nested if is like suppose we have if else statements code blocks, and inside if statement we have to provide more conditions, and we can use nested if concept, that we can write more if else into if block. So here is the example. You can see we have already if and else statements, and inside if statement we have another if else statements. So this is the nested if statements, you can see. But this totally depends on this condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute, otherwise it will skip all these code. If it is false, then it will execute else part. So this is nested if statement. It is like if we want to write if statement inside another if block, it is called nested if. This is used when one condition depends on another. So it is totally depend on outside condition, that if it is true, then it will execute this if else blocks. Now let's see the example. We can comment this one. Nested if condition. Suppose we have a console.writeLine employees salary is equal to first convert to int 32 console.readLine. Now we have to apply nested if. First we have to apply if conditions with salary greater than 10,000 else so we can return error. We have to provide more condition into if block. Suppose we can have another variable with employee exists is equal to true. Exist is equal to true. Dot line list, and in else part we can use writeLine not exist. So we have nested if conditions inside the if block. So this is called nested if condition. First we can run this one and see the result. First we have to provide the salary. Suppose we can provide here 11,000. Employee exists. It gives us the output employee exists. Here we have the given value, that is 11,000, that is greater than 10,000. so it will true the condition and will execute this one, and this also satisfies the condition that employee exists, that is true, as I already set this one true, so it also gets a true value, so this condition is also satisfied and it execute this code of block employee exists. Suppose if we provide less than 10,000 like 8,000, then it runs this one, this else block. We have error like we have 8,000 given value and it is less than 10,000, so this all condition is false, and by default the second part, the else block, is executed and it will print this one. So this is the nested if statements, which is totally depends on outside if block. So we saw the example of nested if statement also. Next one, we have a flow chart of if else statements. Suppose we have some if condition, and if the condition is satisfied with the true, or if the condition is true, then it will run this code of block, execute if part. And if on the another side, if we have a false value or if the condition is not satisfied, then it will run the else part, then it will execute else part. So this is the simple flow chart of if else statement. Next we have dangling else or dangling if in C# programming. So what is this? A dangling else refers to a situation where it's unclear which if and else belongs to, especially when nested if statements are not properly enclosed with braces. Suppose we have the situation where we are using if else conditions, and we are also implementing nested if conditions. Inside if condition we have another block of code with if and else, but we are not using curly braces. So here it is like creating the unmaintained code. We cannot judge that this else block is working with the inside if condition or outside if block. So it is unclear about the code because the code is not in a proper sequence. This is mainly a logical or structural ambiguity in code, not a syntax error, but it may lead to unexpected behavior. It will not give us any error like that, and like a syntax error or kind of that. It will not give us an error, but it is like unexpected behavior. It will not watch the like code is in a sequence or not. So why it is a problem? Because in languages like C#, the else is always matched with the nearest unmatched if, unless you use braces to explicitly define blocks. Because of using braces, it is properly we can understand that the inside else block is working with the nearest if block. So we have to use these braces, because if we want to work in a sequence, or the code is to in a sequence, then we have to use these braces, especially with if else blocks. Suppose we have a dangling else example. We have integer values, and we are using nested if conditions, and outside we have if condition, that is x greater than 0, and inside we are implementing if else block. So this else block we are not judging that this is working with this one else or outside else. So we have to provide braces with this, so to like for code maintainable like that. So if we provide these curly braces, the code should be in a sequence. So what's happening here? At first glance it may look like the else belongs to the first if x greater than 0, but it actually matches the nearest if, which is y greater than 0. So it is actually working with this if else condition, if condition. So the else block refers to y, not x. So that's why we have to use the curly braces to clear that code, the code is working in a sequence or not. This is the correct version of using braces with if else block inside nested if. Suppose we are using curly braces, so here is a code is maintained and in a sequence. We can easily clear that this else is working with this one, not the outside if condition. Always use curly braces to make nested if else logic clear and maintainable. So for this we have to use the curly braces with if else statements. Now let's see the example. Let's comment this code. Now see the example of dangling if else statements. Suppose we have some random number and another we can use a boolean value because we will need two values as we are using nested if statements. Number greater than 40, then we have nested if condition that the boolean value is equal to true. If it is true, then we can print some message braces. Then we can provide the else part. Curly braces. So this is the situation of dangling if else statements. Suppose if we are using nested if conditions with the if block, then it is not the clarity in the program. As you can see, it does not look so good like a professional code. So this is the situation occurs if we are not using curly braces. For the proper or maintained code, we have to use the curly braces in a proper format that looks professional and maintainable code. As you can see, this code is looks maintainable and properly professional code. So here is the example of dangling if else statement. The result is same as I already told you, that if this condition is satisfied, then it will move to next condition or inside nested if blocks, because this one is totally depend on outside if block. So this is the dangling if else statements. So we covered here with the braces, without braces, dangling if else. Next one we have logical operators. As we already completed the lecture on logical operators, but we have to revise this again because this will use in our if else statements. Logical operators are used to combine or reverse conditions in if statements. Logical operators, if we want to apply more than one condition, then we can use these operators. Like for the we have AND operator, logical AND, logical OR, logical NOT operators. We can use these in our if else statements. AND statements means both values should be true, then it will clear the condition and execute that code of block. OR means at least one condition should be true, then it will move to that code of block into if statements. Otherwise it will move to default value, that is else statement. Next one we have logical NOT, that it reverses the condition. Suppose we have true and we apply NOT, logical NOT operator into our variable, then it will reverse that condition and set it as false. If it get false value, then it will move to that code of block. So here we have the examples of all three. The first one is AND operator. If both conditions are true, then this code of block will execute. And if we talk about OR condition, if at least one condition is satisfied, then it will execute this code of block. Next we have NOT operator. It only runs when the condition is false, not on true. So this is the direct behavior of NOT operator. We can see the example of all these three. So we can comment this code. Now we can use logical operators. Suppose we have some numbers and bool values. That is true. We want to use two condition into if statement. And value is equal to true. Else comment line. As you can see, we provide two conditions to if statements. Here, if age is satisfy the condition, and second value if true, then it will move to this code of block. If both conditions are satisfied, then it will execute this code of block, otherwise it will move to else block. So this is and condition. Let's run this one. Here we have the answer adult, because it satisfies the condition. Age is 30, which we provide, and we are comparing it with 20. So 30 is greater than 20, that is satisfies, and value is already true, which we applied into our condition. So both conditions are true, then it will execute this code of block, and we have the answer. Suppose here we have false value, then what it will print? We have a minor answer, because here only one condition is satisfied, not the second one. Here we have value that is false, so that is not satisfied with this one. So in AND condition or AND operator, it is must to satisfy both conditions, then it will execute this code of block, otherwise it will move to else block, that is default. Next we can move to OR condition. We can comment this one. To use this same condition, we are using OR condition. Okay. Suppose here we have OR condition with the same input values, like age is 30, boolean value is equal to, we can set it to true. Okay, we have two variables, and we can set the conditions with the OR operator. So here in OR condition, we already learned that at least one condition should be satisfied, then it will execute this code. If both conditions are satisfied, then it will execute the code, but it is a requirement that at least one condition should be satisfied, so it will execute this code, otherwise it will move to else block. So we can see this output, and here we have adult answer, because both conditions are satisfied. The age is like 30 we set, and boolean value is true, so it is satisfied both conditions, so that's why we get executed this else block. Suppose here we have 30 value and we provide here 50 and then we can set it as same, and then we can run this code. Let's see what will be the output. Then it is providing adult value also, because here second condition is satisfying, because first one is not satisfying, as given age is 30 and we are comparing it with 30 greater than 50, so that is less. So second one is true, that we already mentioned that for true value. So second condition is satisfying. It means one condition should be satisfying, then it will execute if block, otherwise it will move to else block. So we can comment this one. Next we can see not operator. We have here some value of like true. Check the condition with not operator. So dot right line active. User is active, else user is inactive. Okay, we applied here not operator. So here we set true value for this bool value, but it will reverse this condition and it will want only false value. Let's see the result first. User is inactive, as we can see the message here. It is running the else block because it is not satisfying the if block condition, as we set here true value, but it wants a false value. Then it will execute this if block. Suppose here we set it false value, and now let's see what will be the output. Here we have user is active, as it wants only false value, as we set or give input value as false. So it is satisfying the condition with the not operator, and it is executing this code of block, not else block. So here we have user is active. So these all operators we see with the examples. So here we set all these operators. Next one we have ternary operator, that is a shortcut for if else statements, a compact version you can say for if else statements. We can write the code into one line rather than use the if else conditions into 4 or 5 lines. So this is for that. Its syntax is simple: condition, then question mark, and the first value true, otherwise false. This is the syntax of ternary operator. And here we have the example of ternary operator, that is marks greater than equal to 40 and pass or fail. These are the conditions. Same if we provide these conditions and values into if else statement, then here is the code of if else statement. Both code are same, both will give us the same output, but here is the difference of here is the syntax are different of ternary operator and if else statements. Ternary operator we can write the code into one line, and if else statements we can write number of lines code. So for this, let's see the example. Ternary operator. Suppose here we have some value at number 50. First we can use the ternary operator. String value is text. Okay, number greater than 40, then it will give us exist, otherwise not exist. So these are the code in one line. This is ternary operator. We can also provide if statement with the same code, same conditions, greater than 40, then it will give us same exist. We can write here if else for clarity. Here we can set not exist. Okay, here we can write ternary so we have both these code. This one is supporting ternary operator, this one we have if else statements. Let's see both result, what it will give us the output. We do not provide any console for this. First we have to provide this in ternary operator value, then text string. Now let's see. So we have both values. First one is ternary operator, second one is if else statements. Both are giving us the same value, as it is satisfying the condition that number that is 50 greater than 40, that is giving us the result exist ternary. And same here in if statement, that number is greater than 40, so it is executing this code of block exist if else. So here is the thing that both are working in the same line, but the syntax of both are different. Here we have ternary operator, that is we can write into one line, and if statements or else block we have to write in multiple lines of code. But here is the thing, if suppose we have multiple possibilities or multiple conditions, then it is good to use if else statements with the else if statements, with the ladder if else statements we can use in that. But if we have simple condition with only two conditions, we can also use this one ternary operators. Here we can also use multiple conditions, but that is not in a sequence, or that will not give us the code maintainable, or it will not clear us the logic properly. So if we want to clear the logic in a sequence, then it is good to use if else statements. So here we completed the ternary operator also with the shortcut of if else statements. Next we have the summary. Let's recap everything what we learned today. First one is conditional statements, that allows program to make decisions and control the flow of execution. Suppose we are using if conditions, if else statements, then we can provide conditions onto the requirements and along with the sequence of code. If statements is like if a block of code is satisfying the condition, then it will execute this if statement, otherwise it will move to another piece of code. Next one we have if else statements. If we have two possibilities of two conditions, we can use this condition or this statements. Like if first condition is satisfying, then it will execute this else block, if block, otherwise else block. Next one we have else if ladder. Suppose if we have more than two conditions or three conditions, then we can use ladder statements. We can add else if conditions more into that already written logic, like if else statements. We can provide multiple conditions into the same sequence. Logical operators with the conditional statements. As we can see, the AND operators or not operators usage with if else statements. and operators like both conditions should be satisfied, or operators like at least one condition should be satisfied. Not means it will reverse the value or bool value, you can say. Ternary operator is the shorthand of if else statements. With the ternary operator, if we have simple condition, then we can use ternary operator in one line. Otherwise, if we have more conditions than two, then we can use if else conditions or ladder statements, because it will provide more clarity over the code. Nested if is like if we want to use conditions inside conditions. Suppose we have if else block and we want to use if else block inside the if block, then it is called nested if conditions. We can provide more condition into that already written if block, but inside if else block is totally depend on the outside if block, because if that block will satisfy the condition, then the inside if condition will execute, otherwise it will move to else part. Dangling else, it is a situation if we are writing our code without curly braces. It will not give us an error, but it is not clear that for code maintainability, or that the code looks not into a sequence. So for this it is a good practice to use the code with the curly braces. So these topics we cover, you can practice these all into your Visual Studio. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, you can subscribe my channel, like my video, and press the bell icon for upcoming videos. If you have any doubt related to any topics, you can mention them into the comment section, and if you want me to cover some specific topic, then you can also mention that in the comment section. Thanks, bye, have a great smile day.